Thank you, Chair Gill, Ranking Member Simon, for hosting this hearing. I just want to note again, this is a task force nominally created to defend constitutional rights and expose institutional abuses. I'm still waiting on the hearings on, say, the constitutional rights protecting people against illegal search and seizure from political motivated prosecutions, or on Article 1 and its clear edicts that Congress and only Congress can declare war, appropriate funds, or levy taxes. But I guess we'll keep waiting for those hearings. Now, before getting into politics, I was a law professor. My research focused on banking and corporate governance. I actually served on the admissions committee for 2 years, so I have some insights on diversity and inclusion here. And I think people often falsely frame diversity and merit as competing concepts, and that is not typically the case. This is about expanding opportunities, about leveling the playing field. And as someone who's on the admissions committee before the Harvard case where the Supreme Court overturned and nullified affirmative action, but post-Bakke, which you're all familiar with, where we were allowed to use race as a factor, we used it as a factor. It could not be dispositive. There were no quotas. And I also know there's a lot of misinformation about what diversity, equity, and inclusion actually look like, say, in higher ed. I know that was also the case in workplaces, in government hiring practices, and the like. We were allowed to use it as a factor. Now, one thing I will just point out is that we actually much more explicitly used ideological diversity as a proxy because we wanted to have a diverse institution. We didn't want to have all liberal students. So we actually pushed up a lot of students that probably would not have qualified because they were outspoken conservatives. And I just want to make that point that I think a lot of folks in this room have problems with diversity unless it includes, say, their viewpoints. And their viewpoints, let's be honest, for a long time were underrepresented in higher education institutions, in the workplace, because by pure numbers, people who are outspoken conservatives were not typically measuring up in getting into places like Harvard or Yale, so they had to adjust and try to get people in. I will also note that the research is pretty clear that diversity is associated with better outcomes, whether it's in the workplace, whether that's in decision-making in academic institutions, whether that's in research, and certainly in the boardroom, which is what I'm familiar with. And you're probably all familiar with the litany of research out there that not just suggests, but very clearly shows a correlation between diversity in boards, corporate boards, and ROI. And so the McKinsey study is one example of the many, many studies out there. I think McKinsey found that on average, firms in the top quartile, top 25% of diversity on their corporate boards were 27% higher ROI than their counterparts. That is typical of the findings we have. And the reasons for it's not just theoretical, it's because we have a lot of outcomes associated when you don't have diversity. You have groupthink, you have echo chambers. These have all been well documented. You have the problem of yes men. And I just want to highlight something that I think is a very clear example of this today. Pete Hegseth is probably Secretary of Defense, probably the most notorious example of someone who has tried to get rid of diversity in the name of pursuing, I don't know, something that looks more like him, that people that look like him, that talk like him. He has notably apparently fired or prevented the promotion of a number of African Americans and women. And yet I think by all accounts, what we have seen to date in less than 2 years is an absolutely disastrous Department of Defense. We have a Secretary of Defense that is more concerned about facial hair than constitutional violations. There appeared to be no exit plan, no strategy when he went into Iran. This is the problem when you have groupthink and you're just trying to promote people that look like you. You create that echo chamber, and I think this is a very clear example. I will also just note that across the board in my district in Orange County, which is one of the most diverse places in the country, where we have one of the most booming economies in the country, I invite you all to come visit. You can see it's really great when you can go get boba or an In-N-Out burger in the same day, like across the street from each other. A lot of great outcomes associated with the diversity that is being so vilified here. And Orange County, I think, benefits from that diversity in our institutions, among our entrepreneurs, among our elected officials. And the problem right now that we're seeing is as diversity is being stripped out of so many agencies across the board at the federal level, I have heard from just so many of my different stakeholders, whether it's pharmaceutical companies, whether it's construction companies, that they have difficulty now because the expertise that was in place at agencies like the FDA, USDA, whatever else they're dealing with, no longer there because in an effort to strip out diversity, the Trump administration has stripped out expertise. Now, with that, I don't really have any questions for you because I think we've heard your comments. I just want to close by saying diversity matters. It is the heart of this country, is what has made America so great to begin with. As a son of immigrants, I will say that proudly. I believe that the reason our military, our institutions are so much more powerful and effective and lethal than any other countries in the world that don't have that diversity is because that diversity gives us strength. And with that, I yield back.